Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about all that. There we go. Sorry about all that. We're going to be live here in just a few minutes with a talk about Magic of Hypnosis as I wait for Freddie is going to get us hooked into the system so that we're being broadcast on the Double Mind Body Experience page. Hope you can see me well enough. I've tried to get the lighting right, and I'm in my portable office today, so apologies. I was caught out on the hop today when I didn't expect to be, so I've got hearts. That's all I can tell you. I have hearts. So, all right. So and let me try something here. I think I also have something not right. Okay, so I'm not sure how this is all going to show up, but we just had a bit of madness here going on. So we're back. And today, first, if you're listening on the replay, I want to thank you for tuning in and listening on the replay. If you're here live with me, then thank you so much for being here. And our talk today is going to be about the magic of hypnosis. Now, I thought about this simply because a lot of people, especially clients that come into me, they're afraid. They want to change, and they've heard hypnosis is effective, but they're not really sure about how it works. Why? Well, because we have the stage hypnosis. The stage hypnotists who are on there making people quack and bark and forget how to count and forget their name and take their pants off or whatever else. And that's all fun. There's a place for all that. But doing hypnotherapy is the clinical side of hypnosis. So what's that really about? Well, what it's really about is helping by taking control of the mind processes and utilize them in a way that facilitates change for the client in the positive way that they're looking for. What is that in English? Basically, it's deep relaxation with positive suggestion. That is the official definition of hypnosis. Okay? Official definition of hypnosis: deep relaxation with positive suggestion. So, to help understand a little more about how this actually works, I'm going to talk to you just a bit about a couple things. First, let's talk about the brain. Okay? What is so magical about the brain that we can make this happen? All right? Well, we have three parts to our mind. Okay? Three parts to the brain. All right. We have the unconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind. Okay? So the unconscious mind, excuse me, is that part of a mind. We're sort of born with that part in us. That unconscious mind is the part that regulates the heart rate, makes sure we breathe, because we don't have to do anything for that to happen. It happens automatically. So that is what the unconscious mind is. All right? The conscious mind is where we are right now. You and I having a chat, me being aware of what's going on and being able to make choices and decisions. This is where our judgments and things like that lie, so that we're able to participate in our life better, or go out and have an idea about what we want to do in life, and all these conscious thoughts. Okay? But then there's the subconscious. We hear a lot about it, but people I don't think always understand what is the subconscious. Well, the subconscious is the part of the brain that is present and developed from birth. Well, let's just even say from the womb into age 7. Okay? Now, I added the womb on there because I have done many womb regressions and regressed people back to conception, and there are processes that are going on. I wouldn't have believed it either. I was sitting there going, you're kidding me, really? But regress people back into the womb, back, and keep going back to find the root of where this issue is. And we've gone even into the moments of conception. where something went astray or awry or happened. So that's what I'm saying. So the subconscious mind develops from, I'm going to say, conception up until the age of 7. So while the child is in the womb, and again, when I talk about the womb, I'm talking from the experiences that I have had when I have done hypnosis with clients and done womb regressions. This is why I include it in our talk, is because I've seen and heard from clients that it's very prevalent in there. So what's in the subconscious mind? What are we really looking at here? Well, the subconscious mind is where our habits are, our emotions, different patterns, our fears, and other things. But those are the highlights of what I want to speak to you about. So that's where our subconscious is. All right. So what's really going on? Well, what's really going on is that, let's try this. Have you ever wondered why a child would, let's say, just believe in Santa Claus? Believe anything you told them. You could take, let's just say you took and made little circles out of wood and covered them with gold, painted them gold. They believe they were gold. Why? Because there's no critical thinking. That's in the conscious mind. No critical thinking, because the only part of our mind that is functioning from that womb time until age 7 is the subconscious mind. That is the part of the mind that is functioning between conception and from age 7. So during this time now, when we're having experiences in that age time, when we're having those experiences, our subconscious is going, oh, okay, we have to do it this way, because if we don't do it this way, something bad's going to happen. And so, such as if baby touches a stove and it burns its finger and it cries, what happens is the next time that very same experience, whether it has anything to do with fire or burning, when that happens, the amygdala is triggered. Okay, we all know what the amygdala is. The amygdala gets triggered because, oh my gosh, I've got burnt. And the hippocampus comes up and says, hello, what do we do? Ah, this is what we do. This is what we've always done. Your subconscious says, yes, this is what you do. It's like sending push notifications out saying, this is what you do. And we won't do it any other way because that will keep them safe. So we withdraw our hand again. All right. And the more times we have an experience, and this experience is repeated and the pattern is repeated, the more we can have recurrent patterns or recurrent behaviors that we may or may not want. All right. So from birth to 7, we're learning. The subconscious is learning and reinforcing the patterns that are going to keep you safe, because the number one job of the subconscious mind is to keep you safe in your environment, in your world, in your body, in wherever. That's its job. It's its most important job. And that is what makes it possible for us to be able to work with the subconscious, to be able to help someone to change particular habits and patterns. So from birth to 7, our subconscious mind is being developed and our patterns are being developed. Then from age 7 to age 9, our conscious mind is beginning to develop. And what the conscious mind does, it goes through all of those subconscious patterns, okay? Goes through all those patterns, and it says, oh, that's a good one to keep. Oh, no, we get rid of that. Oh, that's, we'll think about that one for a little bit longer. And it starts keeping and discarding what it needs, what it wants. And sometimes by the age of 9, sometimes later in life, a 9-year-old is running our life, because those are the patterns that are there that keep us safe, because those are the patterns the subconscious have initiated and the critical mind has said, right, we keep these. Okay? So, and that sounds really freaky, but if you think back to fears and phobias, if you think back to feelings of abandonment or rejection or anxiety, these are all issues that we experience in our early life. We really do. We experience them in our early life. So how do we do that? What do we really mean by that? Well, before I go into that, I just want to go back over the birth to 7. When we have this experience, The subconscious creates the pattern that is going to keep this particular person safe through that time. And as the pattern repeats, as the trigger or the stimulus repeats, the behavior gets reinforced over and over and over and over again. Okay? So that's how we end up with patterns. I had an insecurity pattern. I had an abandonment pattern. I had an anxiety pattern that I didn't even know I had. Why? Because I found a coping mechanism that covered that I had the anxiety. I had learned how to cope. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. So, some of the major issues that we treat and work with in general, but some of these are specific that I work specifically with. Number one is abandonment. What in the world, what would create abandonment? I mean, it's not like they were an orphan or they weren't in an orphanage or they weren't left to, fend for themselves in the streets. What creates a feeling of abandonment? And before I answer that, let me say this. The complete and total perspective of this is, just remember the word perspective, is that these patterns are formed not because of what has happened, but by the perception of the child having that experience. That child's perception is what is triggering the subconscious to create a pattern for protection, because that child feels unsafe, insecure, or threatened. Whether it's going to Disney World and seeing Mickey Mouse, and the kid's afraid of Mickey Mouse because he's so big and giant. That's a perception. His perception is it's big and it's scary and I don't know. But the reality is it's just Mickey Mouse. But that perception as a child gets developed and he cries to get away from Mickey Mouse so that he is not harmed. And that becomes a pattern for this child to say, anything I don't really know or understand, I'm going to get away from. I don't want to investigate. I'm just going to get away from that. I'm going to be anxious and try to get away. So that's how a pattern for anxiety can start. All right. So let's start with one of the most common ones is abandonment or rejection. Okay. Some of the most common causes I have found for abandonment or rejection are, now don't kill the messenger, adoption. People who have been adopted. And they can have I've had clients who were adopted, they had the most loving home, but they always felt something was missing. And I even had one particular client who was happy, loved her adoptive parents, wasn't mad about the birth parents because that particular person met them, but had begun to extend that into relationships, so that now the type of person being looked for was a pattern that fit for the birth mother, so that which would be the most initial connection that person would have had. And even though everything else was great, they were bringing in energies and personalities that were similar to the birth mother, because that's what they were missing. Even if it wasn't good, it was still missing. Okay? So I'm not going to say every person that is adopted experiences this, but I'm going to say a good portion probably do. Okay? That's one. One of the most common, another is divorce. Let me go here. I'll go back to the other one in a minute. One is divorce, of course. Divorce that occurs before the age of 7 begins to create an abandonment issue, whether it be it's usually with the father, because usually they end up with their mother. And so there's another pattern that gets reinforced. And also emotional abandonment, whether it's by either parent or somebody in their young age that passed away that they've missed or whatever, emotional abandonment. Okay? But one of the most common causes that I have seen in my clinical experience for people to have an abandonment feeling, a feeling of insecurity, or whatever you want to call it, is a baby a newborn, very, very young, let's say under a year old, a baby waking up in the middle of the night crying and nobody responds, or they don't believe anybody responds. Okay, I have had, I can't tell you how many people I've had that we've dealt with abandonment and issues like that, and it ended up being that they woke up and they cried and they were cold and they were alone. So what do we do about that? Well, what we do is we begin to work with the client and begin to change the subconscious's perceptions of these instances. All right? Because those instances in their subconscious mind are dangerous and fearful. And so what we're going to do is we're going to change that perception. Now, I work a lot with low self-esteem. And the biggest thing I hear is, I don't feel good enough. Or I have to get everything right. Everything has to be perfect. The most common cause for this is a critical parent. Now, I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm not saying please don't make this a judgmental thing. It's not. It's just the fact of what is. All right? The fact of what is we can have a parent who has anxiety and insecurity, and what they're doing is they're projecting that onto their own child by telling them, well, basically repeating the patterns they were brought up with. Whether it be, no, don't do it that way, you need to do it this way. Oh, you did it, but you didn't do it good enough, or you didn't do it right, or you didn't do this. It's never about what they do, it's about what they didn't do. Or a parent who push. No, you can't have any social time, you need to study, you need to do this, you've got to get this right. A lot of that. Also, people pleasing. People pleasing comes from this sort of thing. It can come from the abandonment, but it also can come from a critical parent. You're pleasing, trying to keep pleasing to earn that love over and over and over again. That's a lot. Now, these are not by any means a complete list. And by any means, they're not the only things. But these are the most common things I have encountered as a hypnotherapist. All right. Now, anxiety usually comes from an insecure environment, an insecure parent. Alcohol can be involved, trauma can be involved, a lot of things can be involved. So these patterns become developed, and as they're being developed, they're becoming the norm for the child. So much of the work that we do is in helping that child, we use by using regression, and helping that child to know and understand not just their perception, but the reality and the truth. The reality and the truth is that parents are people, and they've got problems. And they were reared a particular way. And unless they're actively aware, they're going to rear their children the same way unless they find something that says that's wrong. And so they're just passing on the pattern. All right? Same with people that were criticized and being a critical parent. It's because they were criticized in their life. And in order for them to feel good about themselves, something else has to be wrong. And it doesn't have to be a parent. It can be a critical guardian. It can be anything like that. Anxiety, insecurity, that can go from having an insecure parent, an out of control parent. It can go from moving often too many times in your life, moving over and over and over again. And that is exactly what you've got going on. And those are the things. Now, fears and phobias, those come in alignment with the anxiety. And again, the biggest thing that we do is we regress the person. We have them imagine they're feeling the feeling, and then we allow the subconscious to show us where that began. And then once we know where it began, we can go through and begin to change that perception of that particular issue. So our mind is a magical thing. We can do this ourselves. Meditation verges on this. We can change how we think about things, how we feel about things. The more aware we are of what is happening, the more ability we have to use our subconscious mind to help to make those changes, to begin to make something different so that we can have a different perception. If we have a different perception, then the actions are different. The fear goes away. The anxiety goes away. Now, when I say it goes away, let's phrase it differently. The anxiety doesn't get triggered as much. And if it gets triggered, then we have a different response. The anxiety comes up and you can look at it and go, oh, no, I already fixed that. That's not what that is. This is what it is. I'm making that perception, okay? Excuse me. So it's all about the different patterns that are being projected into the mind, the different patterns that the mind is picking up and then saying, keep this, do this, throw that away. Because our subconscious mind is our protector. And that is why we have so many things that are a pattern. Have you ever had something that you know that you shouldn't be getting involved with somebody who's a controlling person? You know that. You know that's not good for you. But you seem to pick the same person over and over again. Why? Because maybe you had a controlling parent. Maybe you had a controlling previous somebody that was controlling in the parent's life that was bleeding over into you. The bottom line is our subconscious mind craves what it learned to have and to use. It craves that. And the bottom line is what we have is little individual inner children running around petrified with anxiety or rejection or abandonment or not feeling good enough, even though, like with me, a 65-year-old woman who may still have some inner children who are still not very happy, and they're having these experiences over and over and over again. And the only thing that can save them and help them is being able to go back in time and show them a different perception of the experience that they have had. And that is how we help through hypnosis. We help change the inner child perception. We make the inner child feel loved and accepted and a valued part of who we are. The inner child isn't to be scoffed at. That inner child needs the love that it didn't feel that it got. Okay? And that is a bulk of what we do. Now, there's other things that we do. There are things we do to make sure that somebody's in hypnosis. Say we make sure that, let's say we glue them in their seat and tell them that no matter what happens, they can't get up. And they can't. And that's because if you're in hypnosis, then you've accepted the suggestions. Now, that's very quickly you let go of, and that's no problem. But the bottom line is, when I work, I check my work. I make sure that somebody is definitely in hypnosis. And I do that by making a suggestion. If they follow the suggestion, then I know they're in hypnosis. If they go against the suggestion, then I know they're not, and we're going to have to go back and start again. So the bottom line is, I check my work. I work with the subconscious mind. Now, the other part of hypnosis is getting the conscious mind away and distracting it, telling it, getting it confused to do other things. Because that way, the critical thinking is not jumping in and bumping off everything I say. It's not going in there and going, no, don't listen to that. No, that's crazy. No, don't do that. So if I can occupy the conscious mind and get the conscious mind kind of in its own little world, then I can work with the subconscious mind without interference, okay? Unconscious mind, we use that. That's part of the autonomic nervous system. And once we tap into that, then we have connected into the subconscious, and we're able to help create an environment that helps the client and helps them to eliminate the problem that they have. Okay? I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this has been a great talk and that you understand more about how hypnosis works, how and why we use hypnosis to help change those patterns. It's nothing more than re-educating the subconscious mind, re-educating the perceptions that the subconscious has, and giving them a perception that takes that client in the direction they want to go and not the direction they've been drugged all their life. I hope that's helpful. I hope that's valuable. If you'd like to know more about hypnosis And if you would like to, say, have a relaxation session, then what I'd like you to do is leave a comment, and you'll have to leave the comment on my page, Vibrational Institute. I won't be able to track this. If this gets shared out, you'll need to come back to the actual page, either on the Double Mind Body Spirit page or on Vibrational Institute page, and write down relaxation. And I'll know, and I will give you a discounted relaxation session. Nothing more but the pure relaxation. If you don't live in Dublin, that's okay. We can do this online. All right? So I hope that's been helpful. I hope you enjoy it. And I wish you all the best. If you'd like to know more, you can inquire at vibrationalinstitute.com at gmail.com. Excuse me, vibrationalinstitute.com is the website. You can email me at vibrationalinstitute@gmail.com. vibrationalinstitute@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye.